Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's Christmassy, very Christmassy. It's very cold here in Los Angeles, in the 40s at night, which for Los Angeles is very cold. So we have to talk about Christmas today. And so I've been thinking, man, when my parents divorced, we had no money. My mother, my brother, and I had no money. So my mother, I remember our first Christmas after my parents divorced, my mother says, we're going to be like a normal family, we're going to celebrate Christmas, we're going to get a Christmas tree. And I said, Mom, we don't have any money, let's not do it, just cancel Christmas, we're going to cancel it. She goes, no, we're going to get a tree, man, we're going to make this happen. So against my will, I went to the Christmas tree lot with my mom. I was a teenager. And we pick out a tree, a medium-sized tree. She goes up to pay for it, and the guy wants 20 bucks. And now my mom, she pulls out her wallet, and she has one $20 bill in her wallet, her last $20 bill. I'll never forget the look on her face. I will tell you something. My mother never bought a Christmas tree after that. And, in a way, we were misfits. We were misfits in the neighborhood. We didn't buy a Christmas tree after that. And speaking of misfits, my daughters, who are 9 years old, they love a Christmas special that's been coming out since 1964. It's narrated by Burl Ives. It's called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I like it. I have fond memories of it. I got a problem with it, though. It's Misfit toys on the Misfit Toy Island. They're out on the frozen island, and there's an abominable snowman, and the writers of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer don't know anything about Misfits. The show's wrong. They should have let me write it, because what they did was a huge disservice to the Misfits. The way, and I've never been able to accept this, the way they wrote the show is not realistic. In fact, I'm worried about the Misfits. I'm worried that they're miserable. They're doomed to a life of misery. First of all, here's what I want to tell you about misfits. I've been a misfit before. Misfits are only comfortable around other misfits. So what you have is a situation where they've been told that they'll be happy if Santa Claus rescues them and gives them homes. I'm pretty sure deep down they had doubts about this, but no one spoke up. Why not? Well, there's this thing called groupthink. In groupthink, you're afraid to speak out for fear that the group will ostracize you. So first of all, I'm not even sure the Misfits were entirely drinking the Kool-Aid for going off with Santa Claus. That's number one. Number two, Misfits are going to miss other Misfits once they get dispersed. You need to be around Misfits because they're the only ones who can understand you, I noticed that a lot of people who rescue dogs, I have a neighbor, he's a misfit, and he always gets a rescue dog, and they're like two peas in a pod, man. You need to be, it's called the misfit factor, man. So I think these misfits are going to be alienated where they are. Number two, these misfits, I think they have PTSD. They've been living out on this cold place. There's an abominable snowman. When you have PTSD, it's hard to assimilate into mainstream society. If you look at North Korea, there are refugees who go to South Korea and they have one difficult time assimilating in South Korea. They don't understand the technology, the culture, they have nightmares. I think the Misfits are in for a really bad situation. So that's number two. Number three, the writers of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer don't know anything about children. Children have very short attention spans. So you give them a toy and they like it until the next toy comes along. Then they throw the old toy away. So these misfit toys, they've been rejected all their lives. They get put into a home with children, and then the children throw the misfit toys away. And so now the misfit toys have to experience rejection all over again. Terrible. Obviously, the writers of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer know nothing about child psychology. So this just bugs the heck out of me. Can't deal with this at all. Now, Let's take a best case scenario where the child accepts the Misfit toy. The Misfit toy, by virtue of its PTSD, has this defensive wall that it builds, so it can't even enjoy connection with the child. So even in a best case scenario, I think this whole notion of Santa Claus rescuing the Misfit toys is a fool's errand. So I need to rewrite this story. In the rewrite, Rudolph retires. He's replaced by the Rock. Because, I mean, Rudolph was getting old, man. The Rock can do anything. I used to know the Rock's dad. Well, I didn't know him. I saw him by my house. Rocky Johnson, the great wrestler. He would ride a horse with no shirt by my house at the bottom of the hill where I lived up in Northern California. I had no idea he was going to have a son who's going to be the Rock. Well, the Rock can do anything, so the Rock is going to replace Rudolph. Anyways, Rudolph will retire in my version of the story. And Rudolph will become a rich philanthropist, and he will get all the Misfit toys that have been scattered in the diaspora across the world, and he'll get them together for a reunion in a Parisian cafe. And he will build for them a beautiful home, a sanctuary in the Provence of France, and the Misfit toys will take care of rescued animals. Because honestly, when you're a misfit, you can't just be a navel gazer. You have to rehabilitate others in order to rehabilitate yourself. My version of the story has much more psychological realism. One last thing before I go about psychological realism. My wife and I are totally upset with this whole thing called Santa Claus. We're not happy with the Santa Claus situation. Santa Claus is a fraud. We pay for the toys, we go to the place to get the toys, we do the sweat, the blood, the tears, and then Santa Claus gets all the credit. We're tired of it. That's going to be a subject for another video, but I'm going to put a link to my Misfit toy song that I wrote on the piano. It's kind of a long song. I think it's like 13 minutes long, maybe 11 minutes. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. Until next time, I'm out.